Some time ago, I lived a different life. I was a drinker. For 20 years I drank. And before that, I had a childhood that was crazy. When I was 30, I decided that I'd had enough of that life. And I wrote a book. I wrote a book about becoming a different man. And that book was called The 12-Step Warrior. I said that one day I would turn it into a movie. And I wrote the script. And then I said I would also turn it into an audiobook. So I've had a sample made. And later this year, the audiobook will be out. So what I want to do now is I want to give you a little preview of that book, the audiobook. And I want you to understand that everything you're about to hear is true. But it wasn't right. So take a listen.
Somehow I always managed to convince myself when it all kicked off that the fights were never my fault. And though ashamed of them now, it wouldn't be a true autobiography without including some of the more vicious things I did. In doing so, I'm not elevating them in any way, just telling it how it was and how I saw it through my stupor. One night, while waiting for service at the bar in Buster's with Adi, an off-duty soldier asked me what I was looking at. How dare he? I told him straight, you ugly cunt. He moved forward and I gave him a roundhouse kick to the head, knocking him out cold. A decisive right cross to his mate's chin ensured that he wouldn't be joining the action. I took my pint of lager off the bar and carried on chatting to Adi as if nothing had happened. On another occasion, Adi and I stood at the bar during the annual street fair. A group of lads wearing comical, oversized hats started larking about. One of them kept bumping into Adi and laughing. Looking back, I don't think he had any malicious intent. But that wasn't how we saw it then. Adi got pissed off and pulled the hat down over the lad's face. Then one of his mates threw a punch that just missed the side of Adi's head. I ran in with a front kick and dropped one of them. Adi grabbed a bar stool and started battering two of the others, while I picked up a steel chair and slammed it into the mouth of another, knocking out a couple of teeth. By the time Adi had finished, a stump of one leg of the bar stool was all he had left in his hand. The doorman cleared the lads out and allowed us to stay. They knew us, and we spent most of our time in Buster's. We were accepted as members of this ugly scene. This lifestyle and my heavy drinking contributed to me being a failure as a father, and not much use as a partner to Emma. When she asked me to leave, it gutted me, but I had nobody to blame but myself. Being continuously drunk had done nothing to prevent the breakdown of our relationship. The brutality continued. It was me against the world, my world. A hazy, lonely world, seen from a bar stool in Buster's. I took on anyone that I thought was violating my own rules. One such time was on a quiet Monday night. Two young DJs, Sam and Eddie, were doing their best to entertain a half-empty bar when a couple of local, heavily tattooed villains thought it would be funny to hassle them. It pissed me off as I sat watching these 40-year-old tough guys, who I knew had a reputation for violence, chipping away at an increasingly worried Sam and Eddie. They were pressuring them to play records they just didn't have. After a while, I stood up and politely asked them to stay out of the DJ box. They both moved forward to press gang me, but I stepped backwards and to the side and raised my hands to chest height. I told them I didn't want to fight them and pushed my hands forward to create a space between me and them. I then asked one of them, "Don't I know you?" I knew exactly who he was, a mean bastard with a reputation. As he started to answer me, I launched a mighty right hook into his chin. The crack of his jaw breaking filled the room, and he fell straight to the floor. I swung my left into his mate's face, and he reeled back into the pinball machine. I front-kicked him to the nose, and then threw a left uppercut to put him away. Then my attention returned to his mate, who had rolled up in a ball and was screaming like a baby. I stamped on his head, shouting all the names I could think of. By this time, Sam and Eddie had fled the DJ box and locked themselves in the upstairs office. I dragged both of these broken men out of the bar and shoved them in a heap on the pavement of the high street. I closed and locked the front doors and walked upstairs to the office where Sam and Eddie stood, their bodies shaking with fear. I saw tears glistening in Sam's eyes. They said it wasn't the two guys who had scared them, but the explosion of violence I had released. With the benefit of hindsight, I know I should have thought about what they were saying. As it was, I returned to the bar and drank for free for the rest of the night. Some of the violent encounters I was involved in at Buster's blur into one another. There were so many of them. But the night I stood near the door with Rob and about 10 of my mates and took the Brummie out stays with me. The pub was scarcely populated, and over at the bar stood the Brummie. Known for his snidiness, he was a sneaky fucker who wouldn't think twice about slipping a blade between your ribs. He had this desperation to be a known figure around the town. Having just moved from Birmingham, he had put the rumour around that back where he lived, he was the man. A few people had fallen for his line, but I knew he was a fake, and his claims held little weight with me. When a few weeks earlier he had offered me out and I called his bluff, he had bottled it in front of everyone. This meant I had exposed him for the fraud he was, and I knew he'd want revenge. As the evening progressed, I noticed him talking to one of my mates along the line. Behind his back, he held a half-drunk bottle of wine. I knew what he was up to as he made his way towards me, chatting to this one and that. I knew that bottle had my name on it. I adjusted myself so as not to alert him, and saw at that moment that Rob was also aware of what was going on. As the Brummie came up to me, Rob went to say something. But before he could, I launched a vicious, relentless attack on the Brummie, knocking him to the floor. I kicked the wine bottle out of his hand and kicked him across the pub floor. The doorman came running in and asked me what was going on. I told them how the Brummie had tried to sniper me. They dragged him out by the neck and barred him. I returned to my mates, and Rob confirmed that he was just about to tell me what was coming. He hadn't needed to, as I was too alert and aware of my surroundings for an amateur like the Brummie to catch me out. I dealt with it swiftly. Over the years of working in the nightclub, pub and bar business, and spending so much of my spare time out there among the punters, I've seen violence on levels that would make most decent people sick. I've seen stabbings, people with their faces ripped open by broken glasses, and their heads stamped on. I've seen lives ruined, and even lives lost. And I've learned one thing from it all. Alcohol fuels outbreaks of pointless violence, and I know, beyond any doubt, that it really is the demon drink.